I'm sure you've watched an episode of your favorite TV short movie and thought to yourself, where have I seen this before? I recently did when I saw a new movie in theaters this week. I formulated a couple of questions I knew I could make a video on. How does media correlate? What parallels can be drawn from two distinct pieces of media dealing with similar circumstances? In this video, I want to answer that question by comparing and contrasting the film M3GAN and an episode of the Adult Swim show Rick and Morty. To start off, let's get a little background out of the way for these two pop culture phenoms. M3GAN is a 2023 psychological horror/thriller movie. A roboticist named Gemma is working on a revolutionary new children's toy called M3GAN with a small team at a large-scale toy company when tragedy strikes in her personal life. She suddenly becomes a primary caregiver of her niece when her parents are killed in a snowplow accident. Unarmed with the necessary skills of a parent, Gemma introduces her niece, Katie, to M3GAN. The robot's primary functions are to act as a close companion to a child and aid the guardian in helping the child accomplish goals personally, interpersonally, and academically, and act as a support emotionally. Gemma becomes wary of her intervention, however, after she starts becoming suspicious that the robot is hurting people and animals when strange things start happening around the neighborhood and around other people. A lot of similar circumstances can be seen in a season 2 episode of Rick and Morty. To the uninitiated, Rick and Morty is a sci-fi show that airs on Adult Swim. The series centers on the two titular characters embarking on zany, fantastical adventures, sometimes to different worlds and universes, other times to events here on Earth. They're usually at odds with one another, as the grandfather-grandson duo have drastically different personalities that often clash in mediocre ways. Rick is a genius scientist who created the quote-unquote portal gun, a device that allows multi-dimensional travel, and the ability to hop different realities. He can be characterized as an arrogant and flamboyant senior citizen who considers himself godlike and lets nothing get in his way. Morty, on the other hand, is a 14-year-old freshman in high school that is good-natured, socially awkward, and of average intelligence. He struggles with typical teenage stuff, such as talking to girls, having mediocre grades, and having a grandfather who has thousands of variants of him living in space who convene together to escape dangerous enemies and looming galactical threats. It's simple, really. In season 2, episode 6 of the show, titled The Ricks Must Be Crazy, Rick and Morty need to travel into the battery of his car in order to fix its power problem. The audience finds out that the battery of Rick's car contains a whole universe inside of it called a microverse. This microverse contains a complex society working to generate electricity for Rick's car. Rick crafted this system so that the members of this society work without knowing that they are working in a battery. Before Rick leaves for the battery world, he asks his AI-powered car to keep Summer safe. The car understands this prompt and subsequently immobilizes, maims, kills, and emotionally manipulates anyone who gets in close distance to the car. While inside this microverse, Rick and Morty meet the alien citizens of this world while posing as aliens themselves, and are soon confronted with the problem at hand. One of the nation's scientists, M3GAN, created a new type of electric generating technology to replace the Google Box technology Rick provided them, which required the citizens to manually step on these devices to generate electricity and power the world. Zeep introduces Rick and Morty to his own insulated universe dubbed a miniverse. This miniverse works the same way Rick's own microverse does, only this time, the invention that harvests energy is called a flubel crank. The cycle of creating small universes and harvesting energy from them occurs again when another scientist from Zeep's miniverse creates the same thing. The scientist becomes aware of the entire environment that Rick and Zeep created and has a moment of absolute perspective and decides to kill himself. It's tough stuff. Now that we've given some context to the media in question though, let's look at how they relate to one another. In M3GAN, some of the top themes include life and death, family, friendship, and power. The most pertinent ones to consider when comparing the movie to The Ricks Must Be Crazy are power and life and death. The AI in Rick's car is utilized to protect his granddaughter Summer from harm. The car recognizes his request, but takes it to the absolute extreme, with its first interaction with a potential threat ending with turning a man into a bloody pile of hundreds of diced cubes. The car's immediate reaction to a potentially dangerous situation was to decimate him. The car has absolutely no regard for Summer's feelings until she has to explicitly tell it not to murder the next man who approaches the car. A man approaches not to harass her, but in pure shock that the man who was apparently his daughter's pediatrician was just murdered right before him. The titular character in M3GAN was created to offer comfort and support to children. When initially introduced to Katie, she served her purpose well, until her own AI that utilized deep learning algorithms to protect Katie from danger in all forms became rogue. One scene in particular comes to mind when thinking of this point. Gemma explains to Katie that even though her parents homeschooled her, she needs to develop social skills and interact with kids her own age. She says she's found an alternative school where kids learn outdoors. They go to this school, and the doll is placed amongst a litter of toys when Katie begs for M3GAN to be brought with her. A teacher partners up Katie with a loner that has a bad attitude, Brandon. They travel into the forest, and he forces the thorned exterior of a chestnut skin into Katie's palm, hurting her. Suddenly, M3GAN appears out of nowhere. Brandon asks Katie what it is. She tells him it's a robot. M3GAN isn't moving. He moves towards it and starts antagonizing it. The robot becomes sentient and starts hurting Brandon, ripping his ear off, and eventually forcing him to evade her, inadvertently landing in front of a moving car. As you can probably deduce, this was not necessary to subdue Brandon, as was stopping the men from approaching Summer. Point is again taken to the extreme when the US Army presumably lines up its defenses against Rick's car in the movie theater parking lot. The car uses its database searching abilities to find out info about one of the soldiers in the brigade. This is what happens next.
Incoming!
Got a device!
Bomb! Bomb!
Daddy?
Oh my god. Hunter?
Daddy?
What the hell?
Jesus Christ, ceasefire! Stay back! Hunter?
Daddy?
Hunter! Oh my dear sweet God, Hunter! Oh my boy, my boy. I'm sorry. It was all my fault. I'm sorry.
Daddy, leave the car alone.
What?
Leave the car alone.
Hunter? No!
Oh my god!
No, stay here, Hunter! No! God, no! Hunter!
All of you have loved ones. All can be returned. All can be taken away. Please step away from the vehicle.
This is a devastating scene for any parent to witness, even more so when they thought they had had their second chance. Both the car and M3GAN have protocols for emotional support for their users. M3GAN's emotional support capabilities are vastly superior to the car's, as is expected, and the car's performance is very weak in comparison, with a simple automatic seat reclining function and soothing music. While these two machines have their systems in place, they cannot fabricate real human connections. This is essentially one of the main reasons Gemma in the film starts to sever Katie's connection with the robot. Katie's psychologist is in the know about her relationship with M3GAN and informs Gemma that her bond with the robot is unhealthy and might lead to an attachment that at its core should be very easy to break, as the doll is meant to be used as a toy by the child and nothing else. We've talked about the murderous intent of each machine in the two pieces of media, but what about the broader reach of each of them? We know in Rick and Morty, tiny yet infinite pocket universes are created within each other. Rick says this to Zeep.
I gotta tell you, Zeke, with no disrespect, I really think what you're doing here is unethical. It's not cool.
What?
You got the people on this world slaving away, making your power? I mean, that's what I call slavery.
And Zeep follows suit to one of his mini-versus scientists, Kyle, about Kyle's own tiny verse. It's just kind of funny because the hypocrisy from everyone around is so palpable, except for Morty, of course. Rick and Zeep love to call out when something's wrong but refuse to admit defeat. The saddest thing yet is that, technically speaking, the smallest being in the universe relative to Rick and Morty's own is the only one who gained any true perspective on his place in the universe. It's just unfortunate he decided to end his life as a result. M3GAN was created in order to aid parents and help children, not replace parents and be a child. The broader look on this admittedly funny horror movie and this ridiculous episode of Rick and Morty can be surmised in a few words. Just because you can doesn't mean you should. I would love to say that Rick learned his lesson about giving his tech too much power, but I'd be lying. He just ends up blaming Summer for the whole ordeal by the end of the episode.
This is what it's all about. This is why we do what we do. Ew, what the hell? Jesus, there's flies in my ice cream.
Presidential decree. All ice cream is now for all beings, no matter how many legs.
What the did you do, Summer?
It was your ship! Your stupid ship did it!
Don't blame my
It
ship.
melted
My
a
ship doesn't
child!
do anything
It
unless it's
killed
told
it
to do
itself!
something.
We
I don't even want
almost-
to hear it, Summer.
I don't think there's much more left to say. I mean, I could do a dozen videos on the implications and lessons implied in just the first season of Rick and Morty in and of itself, but if you enjoyed this video, I have some others you may want to check out as well. Cheers!